Good evening, I'm Yochanan El Rome, and this is IBA News coming to you from Jerusalem. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife Sarah left this morning on a brief working trip which is taking in 3 countries. The Prime Minister and his entourage landed in Paris for a lunch with French President Nicolas Sarkozy, and later today official ceremonies marking the entry of Israel into the prestigious club of the world's most developed economies, the OECD. Netanyahu will then travel to Canada and on to the United States for Tuesday's summit with U.S. President Barack Obama in Washington. Well, it's a private event, but it's attracting a lot of public and media attention and a beefed-up police presence in Jerusalem. It was billed as the bar mitzvah of Zach Emanuel, the son of White House Chief of Staff Rahm Emanuel. Right-wing activists vowed to demonstrate during the event at the Western Wall in the capital. The activists managed to scream out insults against Emanuel, including calling him an anti-Semite and Israel hater. But before the leaders of the demonstration, Baruch Marzel and Itamar Ben-Gvir, were able to hoist their placards, they were bodily removed by security forces. Eventually, in what may have been just the preamble to the bar mitzvah itself, Rahm Emanuel looked on from above as his son, accompanied by the rabbi of the Kotel, Rabbi Shmuel Rabinovitz, and by 2 U.S. Secret Service guards, approached the Western Wall. There were no signs of the recent tensions between Washington and Jerusalem as Rahm Emanuel met with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in the Prime Minister's office last night. Netanyahu said he was happy to accept the invitation to meet with President Barack Obama at the White House.
On behalf of the President, we will be in Canada, and he has asked me to extend an invitation to you to come visit him at the White House for a working meeting to discuss both our shared security interests as well as our close cooperation on seeking peace between Israel and its neighbors. This trip has been a wonderful trip for the entire Emanuel family. Most importantly, for me to show my children, given so much as you know about my childhood was here, to show them the country, expose them to the history in a very intimate way, and most importantly, to the most important thing about Israel, to its people, who have been exceptionally warm and genuine in their affection to both all the family in general, but particularly to Zach on his bar mitzvah, and wishing him a mazel tov.
The trial of prominent Israeli Arab activist Amir Mahul opened today at the Haifa District Court. He was charged with espionage, assisting an enemy in time of war, and making contact with an enemy agent. For the first time today, 6 weeks after Mahul's arrest, the gag order was lifted on details of the allegations against him. According to the indictment, Mahul confessed to meeting with a Hezbollah operative in Denmark 2 years ago and agreed to collect strategic intelligence on Israeli security services. Using a specially designed computer encryption system, he allegedly relayed details of Shin Bet and Mossad facilities in the north and of the Rafael Defense Industry compound. Mahul's wife charged his confessions were extorted under torture. Judge Ron Shapira ordered Mahul to remain in custody at least until the next hearing in 4 weeks' time. The other suspect in the case, Omar Saeed, an activist for the Balad Party, was also charged today. He's accused of contacting an enemy agent and transferring information that could be used by the enemy. Palestinian terrorists fired another Qassam rocket from Gaza into Israel overnight. The rocket exploded in Ashkelon's southern industrial zone, but the blast caused no injuries or damage. Authorities activated the color red siren when the missile was launched. Workers in the area and residents of nearby kibbutzim were instructed to take shelter. At this hour, the well-publicized convoy of ships transporting pro-Palestinian peace activists and humanitarian aid continues to steam toward the Gaza Strip. Israeli authorities remain adamant that the so-called peace flotilla will not be allowed to reach Gaza's shores. Aaron Viner has more details.
The Hamas terror group today made final preparations to greet the convoy, including the deepening of Gaza's port. Hamas Internal Minister Fatih Hamad said that all of the security and social arrangements are nearly finalized for those who are coming to support the Palestinian people. Senior Israeli officials, however, today repeated that the ships will be prevented from breaching the naval blockade of the enclave implemented after the violent 2007 Hamas overthrow of the Palestinian Authority. While Israeli diplomats insist that the ships will be intercepted by force if necessary, the government yet again offered to unload and deliver the activists 10,000 tons of humanitarian aid to Gaza. The activists portray themselves as human rights advocates and reportedly include European parliamentarians, left-wing Israeli-born artist Dror Feiler, and Arab Knesset member Hanin Zoabi. They have steadfastly rejected Israel's offer to ensure safe delivery of the cargo.
If humanitarian aid is not their primary target but clashes, well, they will have to bear the consequences of their choices.
Israeli officials insist that the activists' claims of Gaza's poverty level are completely untrue.
The humanitarian situation in Gaza now is stable. We allow every day for tens of trucks to enter Gaza with food, with equipment.
While deputy head of the Palestinian Contractors Union, Usama Khail, acknowledges that the current daily delivery of some 10 tons of cement permitted by Israel, he said that the territory requires at least 7,000 tons a day. Meanwhile, Hamas today rejected an offer of support from family members of abducted IDF soldier Gilad Shalit in exchange for the delivery of letters and visits from international organizations to Israel's soldier, who has been held for nearly 4 years in virtual isolation. An earlier offer from the Israeli government to allow the flotilla passage to Gazan shores for Gilad Shalit's release from Hamas captivity was also rejected. With the dismissal of Israel's many offers of resolution, both sides are now bracing for confrontation. If the vessels refuse Israel's orders to turn back, the ships will be towed to the Ashdod port and the activists will face arrest. This is Erin Viner for IBA News.
And joining me now in the studio is Prime Minister Netanyahu's spokesman, Mark Regev. Good evening, Mark. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
Well, the Prime Minister is off to Paris. He is accepting Israel's acceptance, or celebrating Israel's acceptance into the OECD. But probably the most notable event on his calendar in the next few days is his trip to the White House, a return engagement with President Barack Obama. It'll be held in a much different atmosphere than the last time, will it not?
Well, we're looking forward to the meeting with President Obama in Washington on Tuesday. It's obviously an important meeting. Every time the Israeli Prime Minister meets with the American President, you can be assured that there will be important issues on the table. But please, don't forget that prior to that, we'll be meeting today. We've met already with President Sarkozy in France. We're meeting this evening with Prime Minister Berlusconi of Italy. Tomorrow we've got more European leaders. And of course, we've got the first visit for more than 10 years by an Israeli Prime Minister to Canada. We'll be in Canada over the weekend and on Monday, meeting with Prime Minister Harper and his ministers. The visit to Canada is an important visit also. Canada is a good friend of Israel, and our visit there is, to be frank, a bit overdue.
It sounds like we're seeing maybe a slight shift in attitude toward Israel over, say, recent months, following the Operation Cast Lead and the Gaza war last year.
I think if you put everything together, Israel's acceptance to the OECD, and one must remember that just a single country opposing our joining that organization was enough to prevent it from happening. The fact that we did join the OECD, the fact that when my Prime Minister visits Europe, the doors are open, he receives the meetings he does, that there is a lot of support for Israel. We have friends in Europe and in North America. It's something we should remember. It doesn't mean we always agree about everything. Friends can disagree. But the strong relationship between Israel and Europe and between Israel and Canada and the United States is there, and it's rock solid.
Ma'ariv newspaper today ran a banner headline quoting Mr. Netanyahu as saying, "I won," telling his inner circle that he won. Is that the feeling of the Prime Minister's office, that Mr. Obama blinked first this time?
That we put out an official denial. I don't know where Ma'ariv got that from. It wasn't stated by the Prime Minister in any way. I mean, we have been working through issues with the United States on how to get the peace process back on track. We've finally started these proximity talks. Both Israel and the United States hope that these proximity talks will speedily lead into direct talks, because only through direct talks can you solve the difficult issues on the table. And we hope the Palestinians will play their role as well, and we'll move forward in this process.
Let's talk about the so-called flotilla of peace that's making its way toward the Gaza shores. Is there any way that this can turn out anything but a complete public relations disaster for Israel?
You know, these people call themselves human rights activists, but they've got absolutely nothing whatsoever to say about the ongoing attacks on Israeli civilians by terrorists, targeting Israeli civilians. They've got also, not surprisingly, nothing to say about Hamas's brutal regime in Gaza. They don't say anything about the fact that they have destroyed all the political opposition inside Gaza, arrested hundreds of political activists, and closed down all the independent media. These people, if they were really interested in the well-being of the people of Gaza, they would have accepted our or the Egyptian government's proposals that they bring the humanitarian support through either Egypt or Israel to the people of Gaza. This is a cheap political stunt and should be seen as such.
The government has made an offer to the demonstrators. If they reject that, will they be jailed?
Let's be clear here. We've made every effort. Anyone who genuinely wanted to help the people of Gaza, who wanted to transfer to the people of Gaza humanitarian aid, we were willing and we were open to that. Every day, hundreds of trucks enter the Gaza Strip with humanitarian support. Every week, some 15,000 tons of humanitarian support reach the people of Gaza. If they wanted to be part of that, they could have. They've chosen this cheap political stunt to get some headlines in the newspaper.
Mark Regev, spokesman for Prime Minister Netanyahu. Thanks, Mark, for being with us.
My pleasure.
Starting tomorrow, controversial Route 443 that connects Jerusalem with Modi'in will be partially reopened to Palestinian cars. IBA's Eli Wagelachter took a trip this week on 443, and he brings us this report.
After 8 years of closure to Palestinian drivers, Highway 443 will partially reopen tomorrow, following the High Court of Justice's ruling in December that keeping Palestinians off the route was illegal. The court's decision raises fears of a return to the shootings, firebombings, and stonings that prompted the road's closure in the first place.
I've been driving on 443 for years since I've come here. It's a safe road, and I don't want to. I know before that it was dangerous, and I don't want to. I think that by opening it would possibly change the whole dynamics of 443.
And yet we have a situation where the High Court of Justice determined that roads in Israel are open to everybody to travel on.
That's true, but I want to see them actually travel on the road themselves, or to be on the actual land on the highway itself, and to decide what's safe for the people actually riding on that road.
Not all of the exit roads off of 443 are being opened. As you can see behind me, this exit to the Arab village of Beit Or HaTachta is still closed off by these cement blocks. Since the court's ruling, work crews have been working overtime to open the access roads and to build more fencing, pillboxes, and checkpoints in order to ensure no Palestinians without a permit crosses the line. While the High Court's ruling will bring relief to many Palestinian villagers, not everyone is happy.
Nobody really is happy with it. The Palestinians are very disappointed from the fact that the road will be opened only partially. The army decided to have only 2 entrances to the road and 4 exits.
For the residents of Modi'in as well, there is nothing the army can do to make them feel secure.
I'm nervous, quite frankly, and my gut feeling is that something bad is bound to happen, and that when such a thing does arise, the road will eventually be closed again. So,
will you travel on it till then?
I don't know. I haven't made a conscious decision about that yet. I don't think I'll allow my children to travel on it. I don't know.
An estimated 40,000 Israeli drivers now use Route 443 daily. Whether they continue using it will depend on how quiet the road remains. Eli Wagelachter, IBA News.
The Homefront Command is today completing the nationwide drill, codenamed Turning Point 4. Officials were pleased with the overall results of the 5-day exercise, especially what's been described as the breakthrough in cooperation between the IDF, police, rescue services, and local government officials. U.S. National Guard Commander Major General Craig McKinney observed the drill and visited the Command and Control Center, which oversees the operations.
The United States and Israel are very close. Our militaries are very close, friendly. The Homefront Command is much like the National Guard, in that our National Guard is located in all our states back home and works for the governors, much like your mayor here. And we participate with our civil defense people. And so my team has been able to observe your team, who are part of the Homefront Command, and we have learned a great deal.
You have learned from us.
Yes, and vice versa. We exchange people. We are going to have an Israeli exchange officer come to the United States and work with us. So it's a very good match, very good situation.
So your opinion, Israel is ready for the next war?
I was most impressed with what I saw today, and I think the question would go to General Golan, He is head of your home front command, and he would have a better answer for you on that question. But from what I saw today, I see all your forms of government and military working very closely together. And that's the key to success in any type of civil disaster.
Amnesty International today published its annual report on human rights violations worldwide. In its chapter on Israel, the rights group accuses the Israeli government of continually violating human rights in the Gaza Strip. The report cites Israel's ongoing economic blockade of the Gaza port as a violation of international law. Amnesty also praises the UN-commissioned Goldstone report, which alleged that Israel committed war crimes during Operation Cast Lead. The group said that, among other things, the IDF carried out indiscriminate and disproportionate attacks against Palestinian civilians, used them as human shields, targeted medical and humanitarian facilities, and fired white phosphorus over densely populated residential areas. The report briefly criticized Hamas for firing rockets and mortars into Israel. It accused Hamas of torturing and killing Palestinians believed to have collaborated with Israel and for denying the Red Cross access to abducted IDF soldier Gilad Shalit. Israel's Arrow 3 anti-missile system will undergo its first test early next year. The project is a joint collaboration between the Israel Aerospace Industries and Boeing in the United States. When it becomes operational, the Arrow 3 will serve as Israel's top-tier missile defense system, as we see in this IAI video.
MLM is proud to present the Arrow 3, an exo-atmospheric anti-ballistic missile interceptor. The new interceptor will become the upper tier of the AWS Block 4, with higher interception envelope, shoot-look-shoot capability, and additional interception opportunities. The Arrow 3 is designed to seamlessly integrate in the current AWS. And will utilize its assets such as the Battle Management Center, the radar, and launchers. The Arrow weapon system is continuously searching for targets in the expected direction. When the radar acquires hostile missiles, it sends a message to the Battle Management Center, which processes it and selects the optimal interceptor and battery. Although at long ranges the radar accuracies are coarse, the Arrow 3 is launched and can alter its trajectory later, according to the radar. The Arrow 3 is launched vertically and turns toward the direction of the estimated interception point. Before burnout of the booster motor, an aerodynamic stabilizing mechanism is deployed to gain stability at the coast stage. At this stage, the radar already identifies the hostile warhead. When the target becomes close enough, separation initiates and the kill vehicle is revealed. The target is acquired by the electro-optic sensor and the final homing process begins. Finally, the target is hit body to body and the warhead is destroyed. In case of leakage by one of the hostile warheads, the look process enables additional shoot opportunities for the Arrow 3 and 2. The current Arrow weapon system with the additional Arrow 3 interceptors will provide the required protection from unconventional ballistic missiles, ensuring the safety of Israel and its citizens.
In other news today, a fresh anti-Semitic incident in Germany. Vandals desecrated the Jewish cemetery in the eastern town of Stassfurt. Numerous tombstones were spray-painted with swastikas and the number 88, a symbol that neo-Nazis used for the outlawed Heil Hitler. The number 8 refers to the 8th letter of the alphabet, which is H. Police said the perpetrators jumped over a wall of the carefully maintained and locked cemetery. One of the walls had the initials KZ spray-painted on it, which is short for the German word for concentration camp. A police spokesman said there have been incidents of vandalism in the past, but not to this extent. Turning now to sports, where defending champions Maccabi Tel Aviv and challenger Gilboa Galil meet tonight in the National Basketball League Finals. Coach Oded Katash's club is fresh off an upset 79-69 win over Hapoel Jerusalem in the semifinals, but they head into tonight's contest at Tel Aviv's Nokia Arena as the clear underdogs. This is his club's first title in 15 years when they defeated Maccabi, and they're expected to put up a credible fight. Katash, a former Maccabi player and coach, is looking to take revenge on his old team, which fired him after only 7 months at the helm back in 2007. Tel Aviv beat Galil in both regular season meetings, and Pini Gershon's squad is confident they can salvage an otherwise disappointing season. There were plenty of question marks when Maccabi barely defeated Bnei Hasharon in the playoff quarterfinals, but they demolished Netanya 104-78 in the semifinal. This will be Maccabi's 17th straight appearance in the finals, and they will be looking to keep the league title for the 49th time. Moving on to Norway, where tonight is the night for Israel's contestant at the 2010 Eurovision Song Contest. Harel Skad is gearing up for his live performance in the second round of the contest semifinals. He'll be performing his emotional ballad Milim, meaning words in Hebrew. The 26-year-old Israeli singer-songwriter has been hailed by Eurovision enthusiasts as one of the top 5 contenders of this year's competition, with many even placing bets on his victory. Scott will compete against the entries of 16 other countries, with the top 10 winners advancing to Saturday night's finale. 10 other finalists have already secured their places following Tuesday night's opening semifinal round. Coverage begins tonight on Channel 1 beginning at 10 o'clock. Scott's performance is third in the lineup. Stock Talk now. Share prices on the Tel Aviv Exchange were unable to build on yesterday's gains, which saw the heaviest turnover on record after Israel was upgraded from a developing to a developed market in the prestigious MSCI World Index. And the shekel was mixed in foreign currency trading today. Let's take a look at the late afternoon numbers. IBA weather guy says the heat wave should break. We will have cooler temperatures tomorrow under partly cloudy skies. We could even see some sprinkles in the morning. We're looking at the highs and lows. That's all for today. Aaron Viner will be here tomorrow at our Friday time of 6 o'clock. I'm Yochanan El Rom. Thanks for watching. Have a great evening. And shalom from Jerusalem.